Good morning, everybody. We're giving everybody about 3 more minutes before we jump in. So welcome for those of you all who just joined us. So you can go grab your last minute coffee and we'll begin in about 3 minutes. All right, good morning, everybody. Are you all able to hear me? Can you give me a thumbs up or any type of emoji this morning just to see if you all are able to hear me? Okay, cool, cool, cool. We got some thumbs up and all the things. Okay, thumbs up. We get a fire emoji this morning. We excited to be here for sure. So welcome everybody. We're gonna jump in. I know this is Saturday morning and we have like all the great things to do today. And we're starting the day off right with this one. And so Catherine McNeil will be giving us so many great nuggets on today. But did want to just give proper introduction to myself, proper acknowledgement of Touch Gift Foundation as well. So I'm sure we all are familiar with Touch Gift Foundation. Is that true? We can put it in the chat. I'm assuming, since you all know about this, but this is our summer series, Sizzle and Shine, just really designed to do all things leadership development, workplace skills, and just skill building in general as just for the community, for the community. I do want to give a proper shout out to Kiana Owens, who is on this line, the mastermind behind all of this. So if we could give her a virtual round of applause this morning, it'd be really, really great. Very, very great. So mastermind behind this full series that we all are gonna really eat from the table of today. But my name is Shauntee Randle. I don't think I said that, but sorry. Just as a friendly disclaimer, we are streaming this live on YouTube. It will be unlisted, so it's not public. The only ones who will be on the screen are the ones who are pinned. So just the speaker and myself. So none of the attendees will be on there, but we do want to let you all know that specific information. So if you have any questions, we just ask that you put them in the chat. And yeah, we'll be good to go there. So without further ado, I will give great introduction to our dynamic speaker for today. We're gonna eat from the table. So Catherine McNeil, as a 10-year psychologist and lean Six Sigma green belt. Yes. Catherine McNeil is the principal consultant of CHBM Services, a holistic career, employee, and workforce development consultancy, and executive director of Disruptive Inc. Yeah, ooh, awesome. Under Catherine's leadership, CHBM Services is the primary for-profit funder and partner of Disruptive Inc. Disruptive Inc. reduces poverty among single parents between the ages of 18 and 40 by providing support via career development and related resources. To date, this organizational partnership has hosted over 20 events, touched over 7,500 households. That's the dynamic, and raised over $75,000 in corporate, financial, and individual support. That is amazing. Occupationally, she's worked across a variety of customer service-oriented industries ranging from real estate, transportation, and for nearing a decade as a talent development consultant for one of the largest utilities in the country. This has resulted in impacting the professional growth of an excess of a few thousand individuals, coaching up to 100 entry and professional level individuals, and facilitating trainings, courses, and meetings for an excess of or over 500 individuals in sessions, having not exceeded 150 participants. That's a lot of people. That's a lot of people. We love it. A huge scope. Catherine has authored and contributed to 7 published personal, professional, and leadership development related literacy works, also available on Amazon, y'all. And is the former host of the Let's Chat radio show. She's been featured in the various publications and as a guest across both local and international airwaves. Her most recent features are replaying on her own podcast. So check that out, streaming across Google Podcasts, iTunes, and Spotify. So she'll tell us more about that. To find out more information about Catherine, you can contact her, and we'll put her information in the chat. So if we could give a virtual round of applause, or choose another emoji. Let's choose another emoji to welcome Catherine. So welcome, welcome.
Here's the fun part of technology, right? Trying to navigate all the screens
No.
that you need to do. It's always a good time. So hello, hello, hello. I am so happy to be here. And I absolutely hate hearing my bio read. It is the cringiest thing for me. And I'll tell you about that a little more later. But over the course of the almost next 2 hours, we're gonna have a lot of conversation and we're gonna have a lot of fun. So you all will be leveraging the chat a lot. We're gonna try to keep you off camera. So I'm flexing a little bit to make sure that everything can just go in the chat. So I'll read the responses, but we're gonna do a couple of activities. And I'm gonna ask you a whole lot of questions. I am heavy on interaction. So drop your questions as they come up. If it's not something that I'm already covering, please do. We will be randomly monitoring. And if I don't get to it in the moment, I will weave it in to the conversation at some point. This is always a safe space. Any space that I am in is a safe space, meaning that nothing that is shared here will be shared outside of this room. So you can ask me whatever it is that you need to ask me, and I want you to pull on me while you have me. I'll do a little bit more of a deeper dive introduction personally of myself in a few minutes. But primarily over the course of the time that we're going to be together, we're going to talk about the fundamentals of leadership. And hopefully I'll be able to make it make sense for you so that you can leverage these things in your day to day. And of course, challenge you to be the best leader that you can be by way of your discovery throughout the course of our time today. So, first up, really quickly, I want you to share your thoughts in the chat. When you think about leadership, what comes to mind? What is your very own definition of what that looks like, what that sounds like, what that feels like? If you think about the individual that you most honor, right, or that you think is the greatest leader in the world, what characteristics do they embody? So I'll give you a moment and go ahead and drop in the chat your responses. All right, I see responsibility. I see integrity. I love it. I love it. Keep them coming. And there are no right or wrong answers. Again, this is a safe space. When you think about leadership, what comes to mind? So we got responsibility, we got integrity, bold but unified decision maker. I love that. Thank you for that one. A great communicator, absolutely. Let me see one more. They have empathy, professionalism. These are all great adjectives in regards to describing a leader, as well as inspiring. I love it. I love it. And we're going to talk about all of these things in some form or fashion. A person who is a seer and knows how to navigate, they share or they operate in respect. Yes, these are all great answers, and these are all great characteristics of a leader. So really quickly, I promised you all that I would share a little bit more about myself outside of, my bio, right? So that's the accolades. Those are the things that I've accomplished, but that's not who I am as an individual. And truthfully, yes, the accolades add to it, but why I'm able to sit here and have this conversation with you about the fundamentals of leadership or leadership one-on-one, however we want to categorize it, is because of the journey that I've traveled. And that's the journey on the back end, right? I did not do all of the things right. I have a very colorful past, right? I was one of those kids that graduated with honors from high school. However, the first half of my high school career was a little rough. I ended my freshman year with a 1.7 GPA. Right. So my future was not looking bright. It did not look like I was going to be all of the things that I am today. And I didn't want to be any of the things that I am today. And you may be saying, why on earth are you sharing that, Catherine? It's all relevant because of a lot of the reason why I am the leader that I am is because of the journey that I traveled, the mistakes that I made, the obstacles that I overcame, and the opportunities that were afforded in between those. So I had my first child when I was 20. I dropped out of college my sophomore year, and it took me about 10 years to finish. Why is that relevant? Yet again, right? All of the things that happened, all of the experiences that I had throughout the course of my time, growing and developing into the Catherine McNeil that you're sitting here listening to, all played a part. There was a lot of learning that happened while I was trying to figure out who I was as a woman, who I was as a parent, what I wanted to do for the rest of my life, what my value was, where I impacted. All of these things, right, that we disregard and sometimes we're ashamed of are all a part of how we end up here. So you know the end of the story, but I wanted to share that little tidbit, right, about that middle piece, because that's not the part of the story that is shared in bios. So it took me 10 years to finish undergrad. I changed my major 3 times. When I finally graduated with my bachelor's in business administration, I was 27. I had worked a number of jobs. I had done a lot of things. I had started and ended relationships, right? And by that time, I had 2 daughters. Fast forward years later, I have a master's degree, right? And all of the things that you heard about. So I share that too, because I don't know the backgrounds and the demographics of the individuals that are in the room. But I want us to be clear as we're going through the rest of our time together and we're having these conversations, there is nothing that knocks you out of contention for being a great leader. And being a great leader is not limited to whether or not you manage individuals. And we're going to talk a little bit more about the difference between leadership and management, as well as dig into a little bit more foundationally about you and how you show up. So by a show of hands, how many of us are familiar with something called leadership styles? And it's okay. You know, if it's the first time, it's completely fine. If you know them all by heart, I'm fine with that too. All right, so I see a couple of hands going up. Over the next few minutes, we are going to take an assessment. I'm going to give you 2 assessments over the course of our time. All of these are free. They are public knowledge. They are not created and are owned by me. They are on the internet. This particular assessment will help you to identify really quickly what type of leader you are. And I'm going to dig more deeply into each of the leadership styles. A little later on, I'm going to give you all the opportunity to take an emotional intelligence quiz as well. Now, I'm going to warn you now, just in case you need to gather your pennies, right? That one will give you an overview of where you rank by way of your emotional intelligence, but for the entire report, it is a $15 cost. So I just want to put that out there so you'll know when we get to that point in time how you want to proceed there. But I'm going to give you a few minutes really quickly. I want you to scan this QR code. And if you need us to drop the link in the chat, we can do that too. But I want you to scan this QR code so that you can identify what type of leader you are. And then when you're done, drop what type of leader you are inside of the chat. There's about 15 questions. Do not overthink this. Literally, go with your gut. When the prompts come up, keep it moving. So starting now, go ahead. I can absolutely drop it in the chat. Let's see if I can maneuver this without issue. And thanks for letting me know that too. So I know when it comes to the second one, we can go ahead and do that as well. All right. And thank you, Shan, for your support too, Dr. Jones. So, all right, starting now. Go ahead, either scan the QR code, leverage the link, go through the 15 questions. Don't overthink it. Go with your gut. Once you're done, drop what type of leader you are in the chat, and we'll keep it moving. Let us know if you're having any type of difficulties. Try to keep this as simple as possible. Remember, don't overthink it. All right. We got a Democratic leader. We got another Democratic leader. Awesome. Awesome. Keep them coming. When I see about half of them, I'll go ahead and move on. All right. We have a room full of Democratic leaders. Saying that after I've only seen 3 out of 16. Transformational leader, another Democratic. Okay. Sorry, maybe I was a little prophetic with that one because it seems like we have a lot of Democratic leaders, which is pretty awesome. Democratic leader. All right. So as we're deep and diving, as we're taking a deeper dive a little bit into, and if you're not done, don't worry about it. Keep going. And as your leadership style goes ahead and pops up, drop it in the chat for us too. But just for the sake of time, we're going to kind of keep moving this along. So what is a leadership style? And in some cases, I'm going to share actual definitions based on research and what exists, out in public domain. So what is a leadership style? So leadership style is a distinct approach that individuals adopt when assuming leadership roles and tasks. It represents a specific way of guiding, motivating, and influencing teams or organizations. And I'm heavy on the emphasis of guiding, motivating, and leading. Now, the reality of it is when it comes to styles, we all embody a little bit of them all, right? Ideally, in a perfect world, we want to be something called a situational leader. And what a situational leader is they understand which instance requires them to be what. If that's not what you got, it's completely fine. Because remember, the reality of it is we fit in every last one of them. We consider it a flex to be able to kind of live in all of the spaces. And it's a development opportunity for us to learn how to live in all of the spaces. So what do each of the styles look like? There are about 6 that are like the most common, right? So that might be your transformational leader. A transformational leader is a style of leadership that focuses on inspiring and motivating followers to achieve extraordinary outcomes. These leaders employ a set of compelling vision for the future, and encourage their teams to pursue it passionately. They foster a culture of innovation and growth, challenging the status quo. So I'm taking a look, and we have a couple of transformational leaders in the group, which is awesome. So an excellent example of a transformational leader might be Steve Jobs. Most of us have probably heard his name before, right? Especially if we are Apple users, Team iPhone. He revolutionized the tech industry through his visionary leadership at Apple. Then there's delegated leadership. What does that look like? Well, they consider them to be a bit of laissez-faire. So they're a little laid back. It involves leaders granting significant autonomy to their teams, meaning they let their teams basically make the decisions and move the way that they need to. They trust their team's expertise, their decision-making abilities, and they provide guidance only in the situations where it's absolutely necessary. In the workspace, these teams are far few and in between, but if you have a team of consultants, that's typically how this would look, right? Because everybody is a subject matter expert in their own area of expertise. So what do we do with subject matter experts? We allow them to do what it is that they know how to do, right? Now, while this style can empower capable individuals, its areas of opportunities are when team members lack self-motivation or direction. So when it comes to you as an individual, and this is something that I'm going to challenge you on consistently as we're going through this, when you hear these things, when you take these assessments, right, even inside of this session or outside of this session, I want you to consistently challenge yourself to highlight and note your strengths and what you do well as note what your areas of opportunity are. Great leaders typically hire to their areas of opportunity. And I'm going to say that again. Great leaders hire to their areas of opportunity. They know what they know, and they're fine in what they know. But to build a team, to be dynamic, to be great, to be well-rounded, to achieve the level of success that we all hope to in whatever aspects of life we're in, we have to have a well-rounded group, which means we have to be comfortable enough to have folks around us that do things that we can't do. So I'm gonna just stick a pin in that one. A great example of this particular leader is Warren Buffett. He is, unless this has changed, but I don't believe that it has, he is the wealthiest man in America. So he showcases a delegated leadership by entrusting his investment managers with substantial decision-making autonomy. Then we have a transactional leader. I don't necessarily see that one in the chat, so I'll go through that one a little quickly. The transactional leaders focus on clear structures, well-defined roles, and that characterizes transactional leadership. This particular leadership style establishes specific expectations, rewards, and consequences for their team members. They rely on a system of incentives to motivate performance. This is typically what we consider the stick and carrot form of leadership, right? We dangle some type of prize, some type of motivating next thing. More often than not, it's a pay for performance culture. What does that mean? That means that those environments where you get bonuses for doing the work that you're supposed to do, that's what we're talking about here. Those are typically transactional leaders. The example here may very well be the former CEO of General Electric, Jack Welch. I want you all to Google him and look him up. Now, the bulk of our leaders in this room are the Democratic leaders. Who are you? What does that look like? You're participative. You emphasize collaboration and consensus building. You seek input from your team members, valuing their opinions and decision-making. This approach fosters a sense of ownership and engagement among team members. An example of a Democratic leader can be seen in someone we all know. Whether or not we love him is left up to us, and you don't have to respond. You can wiggle your toes there, right? Sir Elon Musk, our Tesla friend, right? In regards to SpaceX, one of his latest projects specifically, he encourages his engineers and experts to contribute their ideas and solutions. and he kind of stays out the way. So some of the other types of leadership are listed on the screen too. So we have servant. It's one you hear most often in the church and in social service sectors, right? Ultimately, servant leaders lead from the back. They demonstrate in action what it is that they expect their folks to do, and they literally serve their team's growth. Okay? There's authoritative leadership. They're considered the visionary leader. They are all about setting vision and providing clear direction, and they're going to provide inspiration along the way. They're also going to trust you to do what it is that they've hired you to do. And then, of course, our situational leader, which you'll see in the bottom right of the screen. They're flexible. They adapt. Their type of style matches because they've gotten to the point where they understand enough about each of the styles to know that it takes every last one to be successful. And you might say, Catherine, you said that already, and I'm going to say it again, and I'm going to say it again, and I'm going to say it again. Because one of the greatest attributes of being a leader, and as you develop through your own process, you want to get to the point of knowing enough about each of these aspects to be dangerous and knowing when to pivot. You will have teams, you will have friend groups, right? That will require you to be intentional and literal in whatever the direction is. But then you'll have other situations where you brought these people together, you understand what it is that they do well, and you are going to give them the freedom to be able to do those things well. You'll have other situations where you'll have to coach more. More often in the workplace, you'll have scenarios where this is the ask. It is strictly coming from the top. There is no waiver. There is no discussion. It is just what we have to do. That's bureaucratic, right? No matter which end of the spectrum you fall on now or you grow to, you have the ability to be able to transition into a situational leader. Now, before I move on, questions, comments, or concerns about anything covered in regards to the leadership styles? And you can drop them in the chat. And I'll constantly and consistently refer back. So if something comes up a little later, and it's triggered by something that I said, feel free to drop it in there. I'm doing a both and. All right. So we talked about leadership styles a little bit. So we've level set there. And you kind of have an idea of where you show up and what this looks like for you personally. When you're thinking about the difference between a leader versus a manager, because we've all heard this conversation, they're very different titles because they're literally two different things, right? In your own words, your own thoughts, based on what you know to be true, what's the difference between a leader and a manager? Go ahead and drop your response in the chat. And remember, there are no wrong answers. What's the difference? When you think of a leader, when you think of a manager, when you think of workspaces or educational spaces that you've been a part of, have you noticed the difference? Do you think there's a difference? What are your thoughts? A manager focused on the day-to-day tasks versus a leader focused on growing the business. Absolutely. A leader is someone who can provide directives as needed. Got it. Manager is task and results focused. Yep. Leader, higher up administrators. Okay, that's a good one. Didn't even think about it from that standpoint. So let's dig a little deeper into this. Leader versus manager. First, I want to challenge you to not think of it that way. It's not a versus. It's not a competition. The only reason why we even picture it in that aspect is because that's how the conversation often goes. And it's a great development opportunity by way of drawing the distinction on which you're sitting in. And when I say which you're sitting in, that means, are you showing up as a leader in this moment based on all of the different styles? Or are you showing up as management in this moment? You need both. You have to have the skill set to be able to navigate between both. Indeed shared an article, and I'm going to share the definitions based on the article that Indeed shared. Before you can truly understand the differences between leadership and management, you must know some basic definitions. And some of you nailed this. Most of you nailed this in the chat. A manager is someone who controls the activities of group members who are pursuing a goal. A leader is someone who influences and motivates others to succeed. What are the key differences? Leaders are responsible for inspiration. Managers are responsible for ensuring that tasks are completed. Leaders are big picture thinkers. They are strategic in essence. They are heavy on the relationship build. They understand how to get things done through the team. That set of skills you absolutely need. A manager's skills are just as valuable. Focusing on the processes and procedures to make sure that everybody is operating and showing up the way that they have been assigned to do so. It is in tandem. It's not one or the other. You have to operate in both. Even the folks who sit in executive seats, right? Think of any organization that you've been a part of. And for our students, think of the principal of your school. It gives the impression that they don't do anything but be in meetings throughout the course of the day, right? You might see them shaking hands, kissing babies, so to speak, right? You see them do keynotes. You see them, at podiums leading whatever the activity is for the day, but you don't really see them doing anything. They're being strategic. They're making sure that the day-to-day lasts longer than that day-to-day, that it's going 3 years, 5 years out, right? So all of the relationships and the networking that needs to happen for them to be able to continue the vision forward, that's that leadership aspect. But when you think about things like timekeeping, when you think about things like hiring and putting the right people in the right seats, when you think about things like training the people to understand why we do what we do, what that looks like, how they're supposed to show up, that's that management piece. You need them both. It's not a versus, it's a both and. And similar to how you grow through your leadership style to get you to the point of being a situational leader, you grow through how to leverage and when to leverage your leadership and your management skills. What questions do we have? Questions, comments? Drop them in the chat.
No questions just yet, Catherine.
All right, awesome. Thank you for that. So let's talk about relationship building. You've heard me mention it. You're going to hear me consistently mention it throughout our time together because relationships are cornerstone, foundational to any single thing that we do, regardless to if you're in the moment managing the day-to-day or you're leading the vision 3 to 5 years down the line. Who you connect with, how you leverage them, how you connect with them, how you make them feel is all relevant to your success in whatever seat you sit in. And one of the greatest areas of opportunities for us as potential leaders and individuals is we don't put enough emphasis on the relationship piece. We get things done through people. We are not self-made. We are not self-sustained. We do not ultimately succeed because of our individual selves alone. It is a team effort. As a business owner, absent your partners, absent your clients, absent the folks who support you by way of either sharing, working on your team, or buying whatever service it is that you're offering or whatever product you are selling, that is a team. As an individual who is a leader in an already established organization, the people that report up to you, they are subordinate by way of reporting structure. They are your team. You cannot get your job done without each of them playing the part that they need to play. If you are a parent in your home, yes, your children technically report up to you by way of structure. But the true quality of what type of parent you are is the end of how those little humans that you're responsible for ultimately end up producing in society. Your relationships matter. And the greatest relationship that is taken for granted is the one that you have with yourself. And that's also why in sessions like these, you start out with the self-awareness piece. That self-awareness piece is multifaceted depending on what you're trying to do. We're talking about the bare bones of leadership one-on-one and what it looks like for you. You can't determine what it looks like for you if you don't know how you show up in that. Okay? So when we're thinking about the building of relationships, we're focusing on the establishment of connections. You have to learn to be transparent. You have to be comfortable enough with your story to be transparent. You have to be authentic. Regardless to where you are, what you do, you can't be anybody else but you. Now, there's some caveats in regards to that, right? And I make this joke in my full-time job all of the time. Ever since 2020, the world is screaming, be your true authentic self, show up as your true authentic self, right? Emotional intelligence, professional maturity, natural maturity teaches you that all of you does not need to be everywhere all the time. As great as I am, there are things about me that should not leave this house, and they won't. So authenticity in reality is you being mature enough to know and you being comfortable enough with yourself to know that balance. What you see here, how I'm engaging you is Catherine. I'm gonna crack some jokes. I'm gonna tell you the truth. We're gonna have a good time, right? My friends might see a little bit more of that, might be heavier on the jokes. In the workspace, it might be a little less on the jokes, but I'm still going to be me. I can't sell anything else but who I am, all right? And then whatever the foundational commonalities are that result in the teamwork. And it's the little things that are big things, right? The processes and procedures, understanding how your position shows up and supports the bigger picture. It's all of these things help to build successful team dynamics. As a leader, right? It is your responsibility to help create that culture and to nurture that environment, whatever that environment is. Everybody knows that small child that naturally lit rooms up whenever they walked in it, and everybody wanted to be that child's friend. Natural born leader, so to speak. That child may have thrown tantrums at times, right? May not have known everything, but they were charismatic and people naturally navigated towards them, and they could get people to do what they wanted them to do, right, wrong, or indifferent. Some of you are that child, but now you're a young adult or an adult, right? You can think of the workspace. There's somebody there that does that too. I use that example to help you think through what those characteristics are that makes that person attractive, that made that kid attractive. They made people feel good. Folks wanted to be a part of whatever they were doing because they made people feel good. Whether you're an entrepreneur, whether you're an entrepreneur, or you're just you and you're figuring out your journey, right? So Entrepreneur, it might be team of just you. You may employ others. Entrepreneur, you work a full-time job like I do, as well as you do your own things on the side or in tandem, right? Or you're an employee, and there's nothing wrong with that. There is a value add in every single last one of the seats that I explained. We need everyone, just like we need all of the styles in leadership. We need every single function in a business to be able to be successful and to be able to grow. So we're going to do an exercise and we're going to leverage the chat. This exercise has 3 parts. I intend on making you uncomfortable, but the good thing is, you know, can't see your face. So it's all right. So it's providing a little bit of safety. But over the next few minutes, I am going to share prompts on the screen like I am now. Every last one of you, it is my expectation that you go through and you do exactly what you see here. And I'm going to demonstrate this as well as give you a little bit of history on what this is. So in my bio, they mentioned that I founded a 501c3. So this is my give back to the community. I volunteer as the executive director and founder of this organization. And I love what I do. I'm a single parent. I went through the entire journey from A to B, and I was able to be successful. So it's naturally my belief that parenting is not a hindrance to your success. It's up to you what you want that to look like. So I have an organization that provides career and workforce development resources. I'm an industrial and organizational psychologist by trade. What does that mean? That means we balance science and people in business. We understand what the components of business are, but we understand that people are what gets the business done. So we do all of the things. The assessments that you all are participating in throughout the course of our time together, those are built by industrial and organizational psychologists, right? When you go through interviews and you have to do those questionnaires or those assessments, that's us. So that's the easiest example that I can provide to connect the dots. So why am I telling you this? Through the not-for-profit, over the course of the year, we host a series of events. They might be happy hours, they might be brunches, they might be day parties, right? We're going to have a good time. We're going to feed you. But we're going to do this activity called intentional networking. The reason why we do this activity is because the average individual cannot sell themselves. And no matter how you look at it, no matter how you break it down, when you're engaging an unfamiliar individual, you're meeting someone for the first time, you're making an ask, you're selling yourself. Now, we could go off on a tangent of the 30-second commercial and all of those things, but we don't have time for that. And that's not, the core component of what we're doing today. But it helps for you to understand that. And the only way that you are able to get in front of folks as a business owner and make the ask that you need to get the resources that you need to hire the folks that you need to or you want to, right? From a personal standpoint, to get your group of good girlfriends or to have your bros, right? Or to be in romantic relationships. The only way that you are able to do that successfully is if you understand who you are, how you show up, and what it is that you bring to the table, as well as what you need. So without going all the way down that rabbit hole, in these activities, this is what we do. So I create prompts based on whatever the theme of the event is, and we limit the room to like 25 people, and everyone connects with everyone in their room by the time the event is open, or over rather. Folks are taking selfies, they're exchanging information. It's a good time had by all, but more importantly, folks are making connections and they're coming out having thought about things a little differently than they walked into the room. So we do these in person. We've done them virtually, but for the sake of today's time, you all will have the easiest engagement ever. So every time I shift a prompt, I want you to say, hello, my name is, I currently work at, own, or operate, right? The needs that I meet for others are, the needs that I need met for me are. And here's an example based on the one that we're given. Because it's one thing that I also did not share. These are timed. Because as individuals, we feel like everything we know, see, do is something that we should share. But that goes back to that professional maturity, that emotional intelligence, and you understanding who you are and how you show up. Everything about you is not something that should be shared. Everything about you is not a value add. I know we like to think that holistically we are the greatest thing next to sliced bread. We all have areas of opportunity. But for you to be impactful, for you to do what it is that you need to do, for you to be genuine, for you to be authentic, for you to be transparent, you got to be comfortable with all of that. I started out telling you bits about my backstory. That's not routine conversation, but I've written books, right? I do this often. And I know that more often than not, there are people that can relate to it that can't, even if it's not by way of the parenting aspect. We've all done something and we've all fallen short in some way, shape, fashion, or form. And we all go through those periods of imposter syndrome and self-talk. And I'm sorry, it's starting to rain. So if I've gotten a little darker on the screen, I apologize for that. However, all of these things are a part of your story. So in a short period of time, you've gotten a head start here because this has been on the screen for a while. I want you to go through, hello, my name is Catherine McNeil. I'm currently the founder and executive director of Disruptive Incorporated. The needs that I meet for others are relationship building, authentic connection building, and transparency by way of feedback and leadership development. The needs that I need met for me are actually the same. I thrive in places that are safe spaces, that support genuine conversation, that want us and me specifically to be able to grow. So ideally, that's a need that I need met for myself. So that's an example. That's what this looks like. You all have 2 minutes, and I need to see 14 responses in the chat. Starting now. Go for it. And thank you, Angela and Chrissy, for kicking us off. Tell us who you are. Tell us what you currently do. Share the need that you meet for others. Share the need that you need met for yourself. Hey, Marla. Angela, Chrissy, and Marla, I'm putting you on the spot a little bit because you all did the introduction first. Go ahead and tell us those last 2 parts. All right. Hey, Lamikia. Awesome. All right, Angela has shared as well. You most recently worked in an elementary school. But just went back to working at Metropolitan Family Services. The need that I meet for others is working through growing pains and difficult life situations, no matter the age. That's awesome. Elaine, hello. All right, you're the founder of Project Impact 180. The needs that you meet for others are providing mentorship and support for at-risk youth, offering educational resources and creating a safe space for personal growth, as well as the thing that you need met for yourself. I love technology and abhor it at the same time. It's securing funding for your programs and building partnerships with local organizations to expand your reach and impact. Got it. Absolutely. All right, Sakia, and hold me accountable because I like to be very respectful in regards to folks' names. Sakia Ross, your bus driver and a youth mentor, founder of Learning to Live Through the Struggle, not-for-profit. Your needs for others is to share life experience, and your needs from others is to, or your needs for others is to share life experience, and your needs for others in regards to you is to support. Love it. All right, Chrissy, you're the lead business operations analyst for the KW Insights. You help businesses streamline their flow of operations with systems and processes to grow their business. The need for yourself is to build a team. Completely understand it. Tondalea, you're a licensed clinical social worker. The needs that you meet for others are that in which you provide wraparound services and care coordination in regards to their health needs. The needs that you need met for yourself are that you're appreciated. Come on with the transparency. And no, Takia, you're fine. Hold on. Did I miss it? There we go. And to help you and to get help to carry out responsibilities for your current position. Got it? Lamikia, I'm gonna scroll on back up for you. The needs that you meet for others are you cook, bake, and administrative support professional. All right, you have a small admin support business. Hi, Dream. You're an IT project management at United Airlines. The needs that you meet for others is creating a harmonious environment. Love it. Being supportive and patient. And the needs that you need met for yourself is having humility. That is awesome. And I definitely understand that one. So these are good. Keep them coming. Keep them coming. Keep them coming. Because over the next few minutes, we're going to do this again in two other aspects. So really quickly, any brave soul, tell me how this felt. Now, being behind the screen, having a little bit more time to be able to type and think through it is a bit of a cheat. But we're in leadership one-on-one, right? So that's completely fine. But how did this feel? How did this feel for you? And Dream said, great. And I'm still seeing more responses, and I promise you I'm gonna go through and respond to every last one of them. We got Lamikia, we have Tandra Gals, currently working at UIC and operate Rooting on Meat Inc. not-for-profit. Awesome. The needs that I meet for others is providing comfort and acceptance of the emotions and thoughts and using it in personal development. And the needs that you need met for yourself are to build a team and become a better leader. Love it. Lynette, hi Lynette. You currently work for a transportation company in Chicago in diversity programs, small business development, and outreach. And I think I might know you and I might be connected to you on LinkedIn, Lynette. The needs that you meet for others to make connections, networking, and education. Love it. Angela, the needs that you need met for yourself are honoring your own boundaries. Yes, accepting that you have to be loyal to yourself and not only what others need or expect of you or from you, and not feeling guilty when you need to make a change that's good for you. I love it. And congratulations on your weight loss journey. And then some of you have responded to how this felt too, right? Elaine said it felt great. It's rare to express what you need as an individual. It was vulnerable. That's what Lynette shared. And then, of course, Dream shared that it was great. So it's a little uncomfortable, right? Because to your point and what was shared, these are things that we take for granted. But these are things that your team needs to know. We've heard this said, but we don't see it in action often. Folks want to know the why. Folks want to know the why behind the why behind your starting of the organization, why you're in leadership, and more importantly, why they have to do what it is that they're doing, right? And then we live in a reality, no matter where we are, where we have the attention span of 140 characters. Everyone's time is valuable. We need to get to the point. And the more comfortable we are with saying who we are and what we need, the better the networking conversations go, and the more likely we're going to be able to connect with the people that we need to connect with. Just from that, there should be a few of you that should be exchanging information. So if we were in person, I could promise you, because I see it at every event, you all would be scanning QR codes for virtual business cards, sharing LinkedIn information in the whole nine. And I challenge you to do that while we're in this virtual session. It is all about building community. There are a few of you that have expressed needs that others in this room can feel. Might not be a great fit now. You may further connect down the line and you realize that you all just don't work. Well, that's a part of the process. And that is completely okay. And no worries, Dr. Shan. That's completely okay. Because everyone that you encounter, everyone that you hire, everyone that you partner with is not going to be a slam dunk. I don't care how comfortable you are with your leadership style, how good you are at managing, how much of a visionary you are, and how great you are of outlining what's next and where you want to go. You will make poor connections. People will fool you. And then there will be people that you will hold on to for the rest of your life, and you will try to leverage in every aspect that you possibly can. So make sure that you all are dropping those LinkedIn links. And if we don't have LinkedIn profiles, we can have that conversation later. But drop those LinkedIn links, drop those business links in the chat, because any room that you're in, leader, is a room for you to make potential connections. And now we're going to do it again. Now, because of the fact that we shared our name and we shared, where we currently work on or operate in the previous example, and we're virtual, we won't do that. Now, we just want to say, if I could solve one personal problem for someone else, it would be. If I could solve one personal problem as a whole, or one professional problem, it would be. This is a little different than the question before. But in some cases, for some of us that are already owner operators of organizations, there may be overlap. But that's something that you need to answer for yourself. So in my case, right, if I could solve one personal problem for someone else, it would be to help folks better understand the importance of accountability. Your personal impacts your professional. How you show up in one is 9 times out of 10 how you show up in the other. And a lot of folks don't fully understand that. So that would be the personal problem for someone else that I would solve. If I could solve one professional problem, it would be anything relating to integrity. It's a pet peeve of mine. I abhor folks that are not who they say they are and do not do what they say they're going to do. And that goes back to that accountability piece. And there is a need for that. So share. If you could solve one personal problem for someone else, what would it be? If you could solve one professional problem, what would it be? I'm gonna give you 2 minutes to go ahead and do that. And Dr. Shan came in and caught up, so I'm gonna go ahead and read hers because I read everyone else's. My name is Dr. Shaniqua Jones. I'm the founder, CEO of Purple Path. The needs that I meet for others is the ability to move from idea to action, advocacy, modeling, restorative justice, and restorative practices through my life journey. Awesome and welcome. And I see that we are all following directions. I love a group that follows directions, and you're dropping those digital business cards and those links. Oh, okay. Tondalea, thank you for sharing that. That you also facilitate harm reduction and Narcan reduction in the community as well. Like I said, y'all, inside of this chat, just by way of this exercise, there are people in this room that can meet the needs that you all have shared, and vice versa. So go ahead and start answering that next one. If I could solve one personal problem for someone else, it would be. If I could solve one professional problem, it would be. I can hear the wheels turning in the background. I love it. Hey, Shauntee. You work in college access for a pre-college program, principal scholars program at the University of Illinois, Urbana. Awesome. So Dr. Shan said the problem that she could solve for one personal problem is for someone else, or for someone else rather, would be to not only set healthy boundaries, but share those boundaries with those you love to ensure respect is at the forefront. So there's been a couple of mentions of boundary setting and a need for that, and I want to help and support that. And I'm glad that you all authentically brought that up, because the workspace is no different. We've all seen situations where people have transitioned and they might have gotten promotions, so now they're leading their peers. The relationships inside of the workplace cannot remain the same. And a lot of relationships fail behind that because they didn't level set. The conversation was not had and realistic expectations were not shared. And that's one example, but we've seen it happen. And I promise you, every last one of us can think of a personal relationship in which that has happened, whether it be with your children, whether it be with your spouse, significant other, whether it's in the workplace. These are those unspoken, unwritten aspects of leadership that make you impactful and successful, because you can't get away from the relationship building part of it. You just can't. We need people to be successful. Bottom line, hard stop. There is no argument there. There is not a business that exists that has done every single aspect of that business by themselves. Because you can't. It's unrealistic. And you shouldn't want to. So let's see some of the responses. All right, we heard from Dr. Shan. Lamika said, personal problem, help with understanding, accountability, and setting and respecting boundaries. I love it. And just simply acknowledging that you need that support is the hardest part of the battle. Now you just have to start holding yourself accountable to make sure that you are doing these things. I'm not going to read it from here because that gets real tricky. We got Sakia. You want to meet people where they are and assist where it's needed. You want to assist in any way to take them to the next level. That is huge. And you also know that your target audience is going to be limited, because the average person doesn't have the capacity to do that work, to be able to grow through whatever that is. But everybody needs a cheerleader and everybody needs support. Dr. Shan, for the professional problem, she shared that she solved is understanding how childhood trauma impacts workplace trauma and ostracism, as well as using restorative justice as a tool to create a welcoming culture and climate and equitable opportunities for all to thrive. That is phenomenal. And just for those who don't know or are not familiar with the term, Dr. Shan, can you go ahead and drop what restorative justice is in the chat, please? So Angelo, I believe, was agreeing with me by way of you having that experience, or knowing of a friend who got a promotion and is now your supervisor. It rips relationships apart. because we're not operating in transparency and we're not engaging there. Tandalea said that if she could solve one personal problem for someone else, it would be to provide them with the confidence that they desire to elevate their desired career. And I love it. Motivation and confidence are intrinsic. They are developed, and they start with us. But as a community, as a group, we can definitely help to support people to feel better about themselves. And there's a number of ways that we can do that. Lamika shared, from a professional standpoint, respecting and setting boundaries, active listening, that is a big one. Motivation and encouraging knowledge and learning. That's development. What we're doing now is development. Understanding definitions, raising awareness, being intentional about connecting the dots between how we think we show up versus how we do show up. All of that is development, and it makes you dangerous as a leader. Most of you sat in the Democratic seat, which also means that there may be an area of opportunity in regards to timelines, because you ideally want to get a consensus. You want everybody to be on the same page and everybody to agree. In a perfect world, that's unrealistic for a number of reasons. It's not a bad thing to want, but you will struggle getting things done when you need to get them done, leveraging that process. And that's where that boundaries piece comes in. That's where that transparency piece comes in, right? Because you can create an environment where everybody has a say-so, but at the end of the day, you have set that boundary and you're clear that you have the final decision. In situations where folks can vote and they can, chime in and we'll do what's best for the group per se, cool. That's not going to be the majority of the decisions in the workspace, especially as a business. Where we at? If I could solve one professional problem, that would be for others to respect my boundaries, understood, express them, and then respond accordingly when they are respected versus not. You want to show people, Lavette says, show people how to fish instead of doing it for them. A leader that has the ability to grow their people, you literally, as a leader, you want your folks to outgrow you. That is one of your core primary functions. There will be people that will follow you along and be a part of the journey forever because that is a decision that they made. And it is fine if that's a decision that they made. And then you support them to be the best them in whatever that position is. And you don't push them to be anything more than what it is that they want to be. You support them where they are and where they're comfortable. But for those other folks, which are typically sitting in that 80% of the professional structure, let those folks tell you what it is that they want to do. And they'll tell you by way of their actions, by way of their hand raises, by way of their questions. And some would just outright say, I want more than this. I don't know what it is. And you teach them everything that you know. I'm an open book. There is not a question that I will not answer. Now, when it comes to me actually having to do something, there is a price associated with that. But I literally, my out of office automated email message, if you send me an email to either CHBM Services or to Disruptive Incorporated, it responds with a list of resources for you to start, nurture, grow your journey based on where you are. And that's all I do on social media. Now, my personal page, I'm a little bit more fussy. So we're going to have a little bit more intentional conversation. But on all of my business pages, that's all I do is share resources. On LinkedIn, on any of the Facebook business pages, and they're relevant to whatever it is. But then you're going to decide as an individual who follows me, connects to me, who does whatever, what you're going to do with that. And if you want to go further and you want to do something different, then we'll develop a different type of relationship. That is all you can do for people. You can't want more for folks than they want. You can't do more for folks than they're willing to do. You will stress yourself out and drive yourself crazy. So Chrissy said, if I could solve one personal problem for someone else, it would be to help them reclaim their time. That is a huge one. If I could solve one professional problem, it would be to share how to manage your time by setting boundaries and being disciplined. Again, the purpose of this exercise, right? Typically we're in person. Folks are hearing these responses and they're finding out what their commonalities are, where their areas of opportunity are, where the overlap is, and where they can support each other. And they're exchanging information, regardless to if it's a virtual setting or an in-person setting. I encourage you all to do the same because in my mind, I am seeing some problems being solved for others that are on here. Thank you, Dr. Sharon, for sharing the definition of restorative justice. And there's a reason why I wanted her to do this. Restorative justice is a theoretical framework that supports all harmed by specific disruption or conflict to give voice to all, find sustainable ways to move forward, and come to a consensus to respect the decisions made. In layman's terms, what does that mean? It ultimately means that instead of throwing people away because of the mistakes they've made, you're working towards cohesive and sustainable practices and relationship growth and management that redeems the individual as well as the individual that was harmed. That could be something as egregious as maybe a criminal offense, or it could be something as simple as disputes inside of a relationship. So restorative justice is a framework that fits across the gambit. So there was a reason why I wanted her to share that. Tandra said the personal problem that she would solve, she can help individuals identify their thoughts and emotions, create limits and drive professionals, create limits and drive. The professional problem is she can help understand how to identify a path of growth and professional development to progress in the workplace. Awesome, absolutely. And thank you all for sharing that. We have one more and we're gonna move this last one along a little quicker. But are you starting to see what's happening here? How this fits into leadership, as well as, especially for those of you who are interviewing, you're currently in the job search, or you are the owner operator of an organization. This is every conversation that you have. This goes back to that 30-second commercial that you can Google if you're not aware of. It is you getting to the point in the bottom line really quickly on what it is, who you are, what it is that you intend to do, and how you help. Because at the end of the day, that's all people want to know. Why should I listen to you? What am I getting for you? What's in it from me? What's in it for me? And we have to practice there. My occupational journey was eclectic because I started from a place of I need to take care of these kids and I need to finish school. So I need to be able to pay for school. I need to be able to keep a roof over my children's head. And I need to be able to take care of these kids. I would have sold ordinance by a freeway if that would have did what it was that I needed it to do. But as I grew through my educational journey, as I had different experiences, as I connected with and I expanded from a relational standpoint, I expanded the relationship with myself, right? I learned that I was good at certain things. I had a gift for certain things. And you can monetize almost anything. Now, did that mean that I needed to go down the road of being an entrepreneur? Absolutely not. I never even considered it. I definitely never wanted to start a not-for-profit for a number of reasons. But all of these things, everything that I do, from my full-time job to consulting via CHBM services, to supporting single parents ages 18 through 40 with career and professional development resources through the 501c3, it all overlaps. I'm not pulling from multiple different wells because I got to the point of understanding who I am, how I add value, and what that looks like. So I'm not burning myself out and I'm not exhausted because although these seem like a lot of titles, I'm doing the same thing, but in different ways. You all kind of see where I'm going here? And I'm never doing anything that does not align with the end game. As a leader, I am consistent. I am intentional. I set boundaries and I value my time. My leadership style is transformational, but I operate very well from a situational standpoint. I'm big on impact, and that's typically where the transformational leaders live. Impact is everything. You're gonna leave an environment different than how it was when you first touched it, right? So we're not gonna go through this one for the sake of time, but I'm gonna challenge you, and you can drop it in the chat should you want to. But this one is one that has tripped up some of the most seasoned people. Because every last one of these prompts had different answers to them. There is some overlap, but they're nuanced. And this one has people walking off like, because it's some self-work. And it's okay. So if it's easy for you, give yourself a round of applause. If it's a little bit of a struggle and you got to think through it a little more thoughtfully, that's okay too. Don't feel bad about it. Again, it's a safe space. And it's okay. So you can copy these down and you can answer these on your own time. But I want you all to kind of get an idea of what this looks like and to fully understand the why. Questions, comments, or concerns before we move on?
I love to add, I want to say thank you for this space, everyone, especially to Touch Gift Foundation and Catherine. But when I say this all aligns with this transition that I'm in my life. And so I'm grateful for this space, and I'm grateful to actually dive in and have a safe space that I could call my own, knowing that most times, and I'm pretty sure I'm not the only one, but I'll speak for myself. When you create safe spaces for others, most times it's hard for you to have a safe space for you to delve deep and do the work that you need to do to continue to elevate and grow. So Catherine, I want to thank you for these prompts, as well as thank Touch Gift Foundation for sponsoring this event today. So thank you.
Absolutely. And thank you for that, because that right there is a perfect segue. Individually, right? And some of us highlighted this in the needs question. Well, most of us did if we were transparent. In leadership, there is this misnomer that you are supposed to pour, 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 pour. You can have a cracked cup. You can have an empty cup. You don't have a cup, right? But you're supposed to pour, 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 pour. At the utility, in any room I touch, I overemphasize you being able to take care of yourself. And you might ask me, what does that have to do with self-awareness? A part of self-awareness is understanding when you're at a deficit, where your areas of opportunity are, what you need to be able to continue to lead in your home, in the workspace, in your business, in your church group, wherever it is that you show up and you wear a leadership cap. It's you being honest with yourself that you're not okay. And it is completely and utterly, if no one has ever told you, I'm going to tell you now. And then you can blame anybody else that pushes back, and you can say, Catherine said. And Catherine will pull up and Catherine will support you in regards to Catherine said, it is okay for you not to be okay. It is okay for you to need a break. It is okay for you to take time off. It is okay for you to pivot. It is okay for you to take a step back. Being a leader, give yourself grace to do all the things that you need to do for you. Because if you are not operating at 100% capacity, your business, your team, your family, your relationship will all suffer. Absolutely, Angela, be human. Now, there's always a caveat to this. Going back to when we say show up as your true authentic self, you have to also understand how you show up when you're in these spaces, when you're not okay, when you're at a deficit, when you're not doing well, when you have needs that are not being met. And this is what emotional intelligence is. It's you being able to give grace to others in all of these aspects, but more importantly, you being able to manage scenarios and situations by way of understanding how you're contributing to them. The shortest distance between understanding and disagreement is the miss. And it's the misunderstanding. Sometimes that's as simple as tone. Sometimes that's as complicated as the words that we use. Sometimes it's as complicated as we just don't like each other, but I still have to deal with you. I still have to engage you. I still have to work with you. I still need you, but I don't like you, right? All of these things are a part of leading. There will be people you report to. There will be people that you have to partner with. There will be people that report to you. You are not going to like them as human beings. You do not have to get along with everyone, but you do have to be respectful, and you do have to understand how you engage and how you show up when you're feeling away. And that's that caveat. You should always be human, but you should always be mindful. Because the accountability piece of this is the only person that you can control is you. You do not own others' reactions. You do not control others' reactions. You do not own others' trauma. You do not own folks' history. None of that. You do not own other individuals' career development. You are here to support. You are here to provide resources, to remove hurdles where you can, if that's in your scope, and to be open and amiable. But the individual in and of themselves, it is their responsibility to do all of the things. So we are running short on time because some of the conversations have just been really good, right? So it's not a bad thing. I'm going to drop this link in the chat for you, and I'm going to give you the opportunity to take this on your own. So we're not going to do this together. And I know some of you are going to go ahead and be like, I'm going to do it while Catherine talking, and I'm completely fine with that. And I'm going to keep talking. But I do want you to take this assessment. This is the emotional intelligence assessment. And this is also the one that I referenced where I said that if you want the full report, it is going to cost $15. So it's free to take the assessment, and you will get what you see on the screen here. And it'll explain to you what your level is and where you sit, right? And then if you opt to get the full report to do that deeper dive understanding, you can go ahead and it's $15 and it'll give you the full report. On my link tree, which I'll share with you all a little later if you didn't see it on the other slides, there's a slew of free resources that I offer too down at the bottom of the page. There's a separator that says, like free development resources or something along those lines, but it's free in the title. There is a psychometrics link that allows you to participate in free versions of all of the different assessments that exist out there. As you're navigating this journey, those things matter. One of the things that drew me to the industrial organizational psychology realm was that I've always wanted to know why. When I started my collegiate journey, I was in computer engineering. So I've always had a problem-solving mind. I've always needed to fix things, and I've always wanted to understand why things are the way that they are, right? So then as I transitioned, my majors changed based on what my needs were in life. I selected a business degree because no matter what I decided to do, I could go anywhere with that. Bottom line, I had no intentions of going to graduate school. That wasn't even a part of the conversation because with a computer engineering grad, I didn't need to go any further. I would have been fine, right? The industrial organizational psychology track was a both and. It allowed me to focus on people. It allowed me to understand the why. It allowed me to provide solutions. But as opposed to clinical psychology and forensic psychology, it kept me from carrying burdens that were not mine. I could not be a therapist or sit in that social that social working space or a clinician because I am an empath. So separating what I've heard and experienced throughout the course of the day from my day-to-day would have presented a challenge for me that just wasn't worth it as far as I was concerned. And from a forensic standpoint, the criminal mind is absolutely intriguing, sure. But the moment you had me in a scenario where I had to defend somebody that I knew was guilty, I was not going to be okay. It's an integrity thing for me. So rather then challenge myself, right? That was a self-awareness thing. That was me being honest with myself. So rather than go down those, I went down the IO track. So I say all that to say, when I share my link tree, you'll see it. Scroll down to the bottom. There are links there that help you go through like different career assessments, personality assessments, behavioral assessments, all of the things. And all of them, for the most part, are free. So you can leverage those. And I dropped the link in the chat so you can take that. Some of you are taking it while I'm talking, and I did that on purpose. But ultimately, what's emotional intelligence? And I am actually going to read this slide for you because I leverage this intentionally. So what is emotional intelligence? It's the ability to understand and manage your own emotions and those of the people around you, according to Daniel Goleman, an American psychologist renowned as the godfather of EIQ. And there's like literally books that are associated with this. It's a good time. It's a great use of time. Why does it matter? Leaders who can work with others well can foster individual, team, and organizational success. People don't leave jobs, they leave managers. Let that sink in. When we're in touch with our emotions, we're at choice. We're able to take control of our emotions and our actions rather than letting our emotions control us. If any of you have ever been in a scenario where you had an unstable leader or manager that would literally pop off and struggled to demonstrate what leadership or management looks like, especially under pressure, this hits you completely differently. And if you are that person, do not raise your hand, just wiggle your toes, but start to think through what that shift looks like. Your team is going to respond to you, not whatever the organizational needs are. They're going to respond to you, leader. And they're going to mimic and mirror you, leader. So if you have poor time management skills, if you are emotional train wreck, if you are often discombobulated, if you fail to share, if you lack transparency, that is what type of team you're going to have. That is a culture that you're building in your organization. So you have the ability, or on your team if it's not your organization. So you have the ability to shift and grow this in a healthy direction by the way that you show up and by the things that you prioritize. So those are the only things on here that I really want to cover. You can see everything else. If you opt to get the full report, it'll give you a deeper dive into you and how you show up. If budget allows, I encourage it. I've taken every emotional, every psychological and behavioral assessment known to man because that was a part of my studies. For me to be able to be impactful in this space and to help others, I needed to fully be able to understand me. What questions, comments, or concerns do we have? We're okay? Because I know it's a lot of information in a short period of time, and it's a lot of challenge. But being a great leader is rooted in consistent growth. It is a journey. It's a marathon. It's not a sprint. Yeah, you may get accolades along the way of how great you are, absolutely, or what your areas of opportunity are, absolutely, right? But there is no such thing as a perfect anything. We are all works in progress. And we're set apart by the mindset that we're willing to do the work. And our teams respond to that. You might not always get it right. You're not going to always get it right. And they're going to give you grace because they know at the core enough about you to know that you typically either don't show up like this, right? Or that you create a culture of development, of grace, of authenticity, of transparency. We just have to know who's around us. And we have to be intentional about that. Just because a person can do a job, it doesn't mean that they should be doing a job for you or with you. Sometimes they might be the only person that's capable of or available to do it, and that's okay too. But then you have to be comfortable enough to be honest with yourself about what that looks like and what you can and can't handle. Or maybe you shouldn't be involved in it at all. None of these things make you a bad person. It makes you aware. And it creates an environment that you'll do whatever you need to do for the business, for the department, for the team to thrive. Because leaders remove themselves. It goes back to that pivot, right? Servant leaders lead from the back. You know when you don't need to be out front. And it's not about you. Typically, more often than not, it's not about you. Now, you're the face of everything, so you're going to be blamed for everything, as well as when things go well, folks are going to say, you did a great job. But share that too. Take all of the blame, share all of the credit. If something goes wrong, you as the leader, it's your fault. When things go right, amplify, highlight, raise up the people on your team that did that work. It doesn't take anything away from you, because at the end of the day, you were still the all knowledgeable being that brought that person into the fold. So you're credited by proxy. But if you want to build environments where people want to be a part of your team, want to work with you, you are going to consistently develop your people. You're going to consistently amplify your people. You're going to remove hurdles for your people. You are going to operate in all of the things. And you are going to learn what you need to operate in by being honest about your areas of opportunity as well as your strengths, and you doing the consistent work and you taking time out to do what you need to do for you, so that your cup is not cracked, so that your cup is not faulty, so that your cup does not have burnt stains at the bottom of it. None of the things. So what does leadership development look like for you? In a nutshell, it's you understanding your style. Where do you sit? How do you show up? You consistently growing through that to a point of you learning to be situational. It's you keeping relationships at the forefront, valuing them, being intentional about the ones you create and you nurture, and more importantly, having your own board of directors. Anyone know what that is? Go ahead and drop it in the chat. What is your personal board of directors? Circle of influence. That's a great way to explain it. Yep. Anybody else? And it's okay. Self-check-in. That is definitely one of the aspects and components of having a board of directors. As an individual growing and developing, and it's an advisor board. Yes, it is. So let me break this down a little bit more for you to make it real. As an individual, no matter what title you wear, as a regular human being that just wants to do great and grow, you should have a number of different types of folks around you. And Angela said a sounding board outside of work, those who will tell you what you need to hear, not what you want to hear. People who will hold you accountable. Absolutely. Individually, I have folks that I'm consistently pouring into that I'm doing better than. As an individual, I have peers that are navigating a similar space and a similar journey. As an individual, I have folks that have arrived and are successful at all the things in every aspect of my life that I want to be successful at. Across these three tiers, there is transparency, there is relationship, there is opportunity to provide feedback, there is opportunity to hold me accountable, and it's cyclical. So the people that I'm pouring into can question me. I know what I know about career and workforce development. I don't know everything about everything. So there's an opportunity for us to teach each other there. My peers, again, I know what I know about, founding a 501c3, launching an LLC and being a consultant, right? Or navigating the career ladder across industries, being a halfway decent parent because my kids actually like me and like to spend time with me, right? I know what I know in regards to those things. But every single instance is unique. So I know what I know about what I know. I don't know what I know about everything. There's opportunity for me to learn laterally. The folks who have achieved, who have arrived, who are what I deem to be the picture of perfection by way of these things that I'm chasing, right? I don't know what they know. There's a couple of things that I might know because I've had the experience or I've learned, but they're pouring into me. This is your board of directors. You need people that span, who can advocate for you, bring your name up in rooms you're not in, and course correct and pull your coattail when you are doing anything that is throwing you off kilter. You need people who understand where you are, that will give you grace as well as correct you and cheer you on. And you need people that you are consistently helping, because contrary to what people want you to believe, you should always be bringing the next person up. Again, that boundary piece helps you figure out where you really need to be in regards to each, especially with the people that you're pulling. But it is your due diligence. If somebody poured into you, you are responsible for pouring into somebody else. So that's what your board of directors is. If you don't have that, I challenge you, and this is going to be a little rough, so tighten up. If you don't have that, I challenge you to check how you show up for others. Because when you're actually doing all of the things the way you're supposed to be doing all of the things, these things are attracted to you. I naturally have engagements where people be like, how can I help you? How can I support? And I'm like, hold please. And I always make an ask. Because the people who typically say that, especially if they're in that next level, they sincerely mean it and it's a test. You need to make an ask. That's why we did those prompts. Because now you know what you need to ask for. Same with your peers. You can't be everywhere for everybody. You cannot feel guilty about that. You shouldn't be everywhere for everybody. Support looks like a number of things. Figure out what that looks like. And make sure that you have relationships that understand that bare bone dynamic. And then lastly, again, with that final group, be open, especially when it's a generational difference, because you don't know everything. I learned so much from my 24 and my 21-year-old. It's absolutely crazy. I'm not 24 now. I'm not 21 now. And I wasn't a typical 24 or 21-year-old. By the time I was 24, I had 2 kids, a full-time job, and was going to college full-time. My life looked completely different as opposed to how my children can just be. They can navigate adulthood. And they don't have to be stressed out or worry about stuff that they don't need to be worried about, and they have the rest of their life to be worried about. For me, that's success, because I know what it was like. So that's what your board of director does. And then lastly, operate an emotional intelligence. You can't control anybody but you. And you need to control you. And give people grace. Give yourself grace. Everybody's human. Some people do deserve to have the flesh dragged off their bones, but that is far few and in between. That is not on average. Most often in the workspace, especially, folks are battling things that have absolutely nothing to do with you. Similar to how we are in our relationships. You just end up being the target. One of the greatest lessons that I've learned is at the top of meetings, to ask people how they are. You can determine from there whether or not you need to be having the conversation that you're about to have at that moment. It can wait. So questions, comments, concerns about your style, about relationship building, about emotional intelligence, anything, drop it in the chat. And I believe I have like, I'm in my last 3 minutes because we're about to transition. So I'm trying to make sure I'm being mindful of time. Anything unclear? Anything you want to know a little bit more about? What you got? Drop it in the chat. I always pause when I get here. I'm like, did I do such a good job explaining? Or do the people not know? Did I lose you? Like, thank you. So the last thing that we are going to do collectively with everything that we've discussed throughout the almost last 2 hours, has your definition of leadership changed? And when you think about your individual style, what changes will you make? You can go ahead and drop that in the chat. When you think about your leadership style, what changes will you make? Awesome, awesome. And I see feedback coming in and some clarity. And that is a great observation and an acknowledgement, Angela. Just challenge yourself. When you standing on business, what shoes are you wearing? And go from there. Because you definitely have to say what you mean and mean what you say. Folks take their cues on how they can play with you or not, how they can support you or not, whether they want to support you or not, by the way that we carry ourselves and we show up consistently. So that goes back to that boundaries piece. So what changes will we make based on our style? And even if you don't, you know, if you're still thinking through it and you don't want to put it in the chat, that is completely fine. But make a note for yourself. You know, earlier before vision boarding became a popular fad, like for people to do, I used to create my goals fourth quarter of every year for the next year. And I would create my vision board by way of a screensaver on my phone or on my computer to just hold me accountable. Right? Because anything that you can't see, you cannot achieve. Anything that you can't articulate, you cannot obtain. So language matters in a lot of ways. It helps to build and diminish your relationships, your credibility, as well as when it comes to yourself, what that looks like, how you show up, what you believe you can do, your self-esteem, all of those things. So I've dropped my QR code for my link tree on the screen. I can drop that link too if you need me to drop the link in the chat. And we're good. That's all I got for you all. I really appreciate you spending the top half of your Saturday with me. I am feedback by all means. And that link is on my link tree too, if I'm not mistaken. If you had a good time, leave me a review. I'm with all of that. It's an open forum. And I am going to turn this back over to the organization, and I will drop that link too.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Oh my goodness. Okay, if we could drop again, one really great emoji of your choice, a different one to just show our appreciation for it's Catherine McNeil. Thank you so much. Dropped all the gems. Oh, okay. I see some cute emojis. I love that. Let me come off of here.
And I can't find the chat. Oh, wait, okay.
Oh yeah, yeah. The chat gets so kind of kind of weird. Yeah, it was hard for me to find that too. So, yep, she dropped the link. I'm gonna drop a few links as well. And I think she on the QR code with your link tree and maybe your actual LinkedIn as well, but popping that in the chat. I am also popping her organization in the chat. So CHBM Services. I'm popping that in there as well. If you all had any issues like navigating anything, we just want to give you all the resources because this was so dynamic. So thank you so much for dropping all the gems today. And I have one more to Distinctive Ink also. Cool. So an awesome way, you all hit the nail on the head. Like it awesome way to start the second half of the year, awesome way to start off this series. So this is episode 1 of a series, right? And so our summer series. So I will share my screen. Give me 1 second so I can just show you the full Sizzle and Shine series. Give me a minute. You all know how these things are.
This is from Touch Gift Foundation. We are thrilled to present a meaningful opportunity to make a lasting impact in our community through the Sizzle and Shine Elevate Your Skills and Success series. This initiative is designed to uplift individuals of all ages by offering a blend of interactive workshops, insightful seminars, and hands-on learning experiences aimed at developing essential skills and achieving.
It was, I don't, were you all able to hear it? Does it sound fuzzy on your end?
We could hear it.
Yeah, we could hear it. We couldn't see it, but we could hear it.
Okay. No, it's totally fine. So I put it up in PDF form too. So I'm gonna share that with you all instead. So we can get it all together. So you all can see this, right? Gotta get a thumbs up. If you are able to see my screen, awesome. So the full Sizzle and Shine series. So we're in the summer series. But if you like it so much, which I think that you all do, we also have a winter series. But for now, we kicked it off here today, and this will run until September 21st. So it's in a few different phases. We're doing leadership development. So this started out, of course, our leadership development part of the series, but we also have career exploration and skill building, all the things. So please enjoy, just invite people out next
I
week.
see you.
Huh? Oh, sorry. So next week, join us for career exploration. We'll be talking about crafting your story, so resume writing essentials, and this is with Laisha McDaniels. So you can scan this QR code right here to the series, and we'll also pop that in the chat as well. Okay. A few more things that I want to add before. Does everybody got that? You can give me a thumbs up before I stop sharing my screen. Cool. Couple of more things before I let you go and see great day things of Saturday. But we do have an evaluation for today. I absolutely love this. And I study organizational development, and you dropped so many gems. And it was just such a really great, like, oh, okay, I'm in a good space, right? But if you enjoyed this as much as I did, we would love to hear your feedback. So this is a course evaluation that I just popped in the chat as well. And then I am also popping in the chat the registration link for the series. So sign up, send this out to everybody. And you've seen the flyers on social media. Please share those out as well. So any questions before we go? Anybody have any questions? And I'll stick around afterwards. I saw Kiana pop back on, so I'm not sure if she wants to say anything also before we go. But if all hearts and minds are clear, enjoy your Saturday, and we'll see you all next Saturday. So please invite a gajillion people, okay? Oh, yes. Oh, so sorry. We would like to thank our sponsors for this specific series. So we have, give me 1 second. I want to make sure, Kiana, I'm not sure if you want to take yourself off mute. I am trying to.
Hey, so I got 2 minutes. Thank you guys for joining us. We would love to thank our sponsors, LLF Consulting, University of Chicago Medicine, as well as the Chicago Community Trust for their sponsorship. And I'm pivoting it back over to you.
Awesome. Thank you so much. So thank you so much for our sponsors. If you can send this out. We do have a sponsorship packet also, so everybody can jump on board as well. And I believe Kiana may have shared that with everyone too, but please, we want all the folks and we want all the sponsors too. So enjoy your Saturday, everybody. Have a good one.
Thank you, everyone.